Okay, here in the 7:20 turn, orders have been given. No real break in the alliances. Islam and Mazdians are still holding together, and Catholics couldn't be convinced, or were of no value, or whatever. So, is that right? 4? Yeah, okay. One thing I noticed with the Catholics, they're absolutely doomed at this point. I mean, that would seem to be the case. But there are 2 Vikings here. Assuming they attack, a supported attack, you would think, oh, wait, they got the Pope here. They got religious superiority. Can't they hold this off? They can't. The Pope only gives that advantage in the religious center. He's not there. He can't help sustain the religion in some foreign territory the same way. So we're probably going to see the end of the Franks and the Catholics at this point. And the Catholics are pretty much disturbed by everyone except the Mazdians, actually, who, because they stabbed a couple of different players, may not be the best choice. So I don't know where they're going to drop their, where they're going to hand off their control to. All right, let's get to the placement of the religious people. Okay, for the religious stuff. Well, first of all, we have a toleration being played between the Vikings and the Avars. They don't want to blunder into each other. They've actually been coordinating a little bit more. They also have holy wars. The Franks played one against the Vikings, just to try to... Oh, I've already marked them. Just to try to reduce or cause some more pain in their fall. And they shamanistic played it against the Mazdians, and that's gonna, we see some, you know, some being sent. You're not gonna see the mass conversion numbers. Speaking of mass conversions, see a couple underway here. Boom, boom, boom. That there's a large number of opponents in the way. And there's a good chance they're going to fail because I didn't put enough padding in place. I don't know if any of the mass conversions are going to go off this time. All right, let's see what happens from them. Well, after completing the religious fighting, we see a couple of things. One is the Holy War is an impressive defensive mechanism. I don't know how much an offensive mechanism it is. Certainly, if you advance into areas where you have, you know, if you advance the last turn into enemy areas, it allows you to, you know, continue to convert their people without as much risk of someone coming in and trying to take them back. But it's more useful, and we're seeing it here with the Avars, in wiping out the priests who are coming into your areas. The armies just knock them out, and then you can kind of settle on your holy purity within your territories. We're seeing an interesting kind of switch going on with the Vikings shifting further and further this way, and Islam cutting in under them, and just sort of this intermingling. You know that's going to be ugly. Where they're kind of setting it up so either side can advance. Neither one's playing real defense there. We also have, well, a little bit of an incursion of Islam here, and I don't know. We'll see what the military does, because that usually helps to find where the real boundaries are going to be. Here in the military phase, well, it turns out it was possible for the Catholics to survive, because the Arabs came forward and broke the supporting unit from Burgundy, which means the attack just failed. Everything else kind of held up here. This is here. Got a lot of shifting of navies into place to continue that attack westward. Up here, again an attack with support that was cut. That's not going to go to the Vikings, so they lose there. They move into Finland, however. Here, that's held. Dacia. We had something interesting going on. There's actually support here. The Dacians are advancing. Not sure what they think they're doing. But I think they're getting... I think they were just hoping to cut something, but I think they're getting knocked out, actually, by the Avars. The problem with the Avars is, though, well, yeah, they advanced, but now they broke up their line. They had kind of this solid line of pieces, almost. It's still not, but now Greece is kind of isolated, and it'll probably get destroyed. It's very hard to face this kind of envelopment. There's not much you can do. Any attack you make is going to cause sort of a counter reaction. So well, let's finish up movement if there is any. We got some guys shifting around here. The question then is, where can the retreat happen? There's only one. And, well, it can't go into Messi. It could go into Illyria, which might be interesting, to tell you the truth, because that gets you the Greece action. And I've got a lot of forces heading this way. What's at risk here? Russia, maybe? Any attack in this direction? I think I'm going to take the retreat into Illyria instead. And again, there's all these options that open up when you're in this kind of position. So that's just one of the problems. Alright, I think, well, I've got to count the priests, but after that we'll be ready to move forward. Okay, so here we are in the religious segment of 7:30. Already threw the plots down and moved things. You can see some major action going on in some places. Look like mass conversions or whatever. A lot of spreading out Islam throughout here. We've got a couple interesting things here. So the Arab Islam are tolerating Catholic, and the Catholics are tolerating Islam. They came to a kind of agreement. Islam would try to keep the Catholics alive and utilize them in a push forward. Their view being, you know, it's going to come down to the fight real soon, and yeah, it would be nice to have the extra area, but maybe it's better to have another religion, have that helper, have, most importantly, the extra person to convert territories. I need that edge, not just against maybe the Vikings, but also when it comes down to it, I really need it against the Mazdians. And that's where the fight's going to be, I think. So I want to keep them alive because I have the disadvantage right now. They're bigger than me. Alright, also though, we have holy wars. The Avars are on a holy war against the Mazdians, and the Franks are in a holy war against the Vikings, and so are the Arabs. So we got to mark these down. A holy war. The Avars took one, but Islam also took one. And that should be kind of interesting. Let's see how that all works out. And after the settings, we see some of the priests have been knocked off the board. And a little bit of change over here. Number-wise, what do we got? Well, we've got Islam actually past the Mazdians in terms of total religious power. Vikings and the shamans falling pretty hard. Now, religious power isn't everything. Military power is a big factor here. And the Persians still have more armies than the Arab Islam do. But religion can help boost that situation, and religion's what you need to win. So maybe we're seeing the corner kind of turning, where the Mazdians are kind of falling behind, not able to make the gains they were once able to. And now with a potential ally, who knows what'll happen. Well, coordination between Rome and the Vikings failed completely. I'm not sure why this happened, except that I take breaks. But it happens in multiplayer games sometimes. Somebody just screws up and doesn't understand. In this case, the Franks moved into Latium when the Arabs were providing them lots of support into Burgundy. They would have actually moved into Burgundy successfully, but they would have lost Lombardy, which they didn't want to. Now, they're going to lose Lombardy anyway, but they're gaining Latium here. let's see what happens. First we got these going into the sea. They both fail because they bounce. Here we've got Vikings trying to get into Castile. That won't work, but it does prevent the support. These supports, they don't matter because the Franks didn't actually move there. Instead, what happened was the Vikings ended up seizing Lombardy. And that's the issue we're talking about there. Elsewhere, well, with support, we've got the Persians making it into Greece and taking this. And this whole force sliding up. Let's see what's going on here. Into Bologna with support, but these, well, so what's going to happen? This support's going to get broken. So this is going to bounce because they've got more religious supports. They're not getting in there, but they broke the support there. This is supporting this, and it makes it in. There's nothing that can be gained from that. So the Vikings have made it in here to the Pays Balts. An attack in the Bosporus, well, that didn't gain any ground, and held this guy up as well. Got this fleet seizing into there. And some quick movement by the Arabs. But for the most part, not a lot changed there. Things didn't quite go as I would have expected. Dacia and Carpathia supported each other instead of pushing forward. Things were a lot more chaotic here than maybe they had to be. This is going to have to flee, and the only place it can actually retreat legally is the Volga, or Volga. And we're going to have some change of power here, which we'll record, and I'll come back at the end of the turn. Well, this was a weird turn, and we're going into the 740 turn now. Pick this up in the morning, but I'll load this first. Definitely see a kind of interesting dynamic going on here, where the Vikings kind of actually made some ground here. Because of the mistake by the Franks or whatever, they got into Lombardy. Now, of course, this was at the cost of the Avars. They're the ones who lost Rome, and they wouldn't have lost it otherwise. So it was hurting them further. They're down another space and had to pop one of their units, the one that retreated from Greece to Messi. That was kind of a safe unit bonus. They thought they were doing well. Well, they're trying to defend themselves as much as they can, but it's the Vikings who are coming in and taking back ground from the Persians and putting themselves in a position where they can kind of try to start being the ones holding up the whole burden of this two-front war, because the Avars have not been able to hold up their side of it. And the hope is kind of maybe the Persians and Islam, with so much border between them, will start fighting very soon. Point-wise, we're getting real close. That 15 is where Islam or the Persians will end up getting yet another holy war. Now, we're seeing people actually using those suckers now. And it's kind of interesting because it's scary to go into other people's territory and try converting them while you're with that danger of the holy war. Now, the Avars and the Franks are about ready to spend their last one. Once they do that, they no longer have that huge bonus. Alright, I'm going to load this one up. Hopefully it'll make it up before I got to work tomorrow.